Hello and welcome to another Run, Think, Shoot, Live interview with me, Philip, and joining me today is Ethosaur. Hello, Ethosaur.
Hello.
How you doing?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. Okay, it's good to hear that you're doing pretty good. Now, we're talking today about a mod that you recently released called the PTSD Mod. Now, before we get into the mod itself, why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about your modding history, how you started, which games, what mods you made, that sort of stuff.
Well, basically, I started with my first playthrough of Half-Life 2. It was pretty long ago. I think it was 2008 or something.
Okay.
I really liked it, and after finishing it, I was like, where can I get more? Like, I want more. And then I heard about you could make your own levels and stuff, and I was like, man, that's really cool. I wanted to do that. So, yeah, I started practicing, like, made really crappy levels for like a year or two, and eventually I got better and better, and I was like, I want to try to make mods and maps, and I started moving to different games. I moved to Team Fortress, and mostly I've been like dabbling in all of the games by Valve.
Okay. So you didn't start with Half-Life 1. I mean, you came to the modding scene.
Yeah, I actually played Half-Life 2 first, and then Half-Life 1 after.
Okay, all right. What were your thoughts about like Half-Life 1? Was it like, oh my god, it's so old looking or something?
No, I appreciate it for like I appreciate retro games, so I didn't have any problem with it.
Okay. All right. And have you made any other mods for any other games outside of Source?
No.
All right, good. We don't want you to go outside of Source. You want to stay in
I'm
Source.
never leaving Source. Probably like be an old man in a rocking chair and still working with Half-Life.
And people will be calling the game that you're working on retro. You'll be like, no, it's not
Yeah,
retro. It's like what I know. It's going to happen.
VR and everything.
So, tell me the levels that you have released. I mean, I know that you've been an entrant to my mapping challenges, but have you
Yeah.
released anything else besides that? It doesn't even have to be single player. Just something that you've released.
I've done a lot of maps, not specifically for Half-Life, but I used to do a lot of horror maps for Gary's Mod. I enjoyed making like horror stuff. I did release one mod long ago called Missile Strike Imminent, which I think you have played and
Okay.
is on your site. And that was pretty long ago.
All right.
And mostly I've just like kind of released bits and bobs of maps I've made before, but mostly I've kept them to myself because I just wasn't really happy with how they are, and yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's difficult as a mapper. You want to build something and you want people to play it, but if you're not completely comfortable that it's fun to play and all of those kind of things, then
Right.
you know, okay. Missile strike imminent. Yeah, okay. I'm looking at it, looking at it now.
Yeah.
And there was the necrophobia ones that you sort of released quite recently, as well as the
Yep.
mapping
Those
challenges.
are actually from the Gary's mod, which I just edited so it works in like single player, because they kind of work both.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah.
So if you were to give any advice to new mappers, what would it be? Because I think that's a question that like lots of new mappers want. They want to hear from people who've been mapping a while. So
Yeah.
just
I mean, I would say it's pretty a common thing to say, but I would say start small. I've done the mistake many times of just thinking way too big. Like I've had hundreds of mod ideas, and I start on it and I realize, oh, I can't do this. Like I'm just one guy. I can't make all of this. So I've been trying to start smaller, and PTSD mod was a start of that, of starting small and just kind of slowly building on it for a few weeks or months, I guess.
okay. It is a problem of being over ambitious. People wanting to build these huge things before they've even made like smaller mods. And I like to equate it. What somebody wants to release like a huge book when they've never even written short stories. And of course, it is different, but you see it so often. So your advice is think small and build from
Yeah.
there. All right, good advice. So let's talk about the PTSD mod. The first thing we need to say is that it is not a serious mod. Is that right?
Yeah, that's. I mean, there is a few serious things kind of hidden within the mod, but basically the whole mod never really takes itself seriously. It was just supposed to be a kind of fun, abstract, and silly mod with a few inside jokes that, I mean, most people probably won't get it, but I think it'll still be enjoyable either way.
Okay, so when you say inside jokes, let's clarify that. Inside to what community? To what group of people?
Mostly people who've like watched the punt, because I did used to work on punt,
Okay.
and
And
so it's
Punt
mostly.
is a Portal 2 mod. Is that right?
Well, it was originally a Half-Life mod, and then it moved to Portal, and then development just kind of ceased for a while now.
Okay, all right. So the people familiar with that particular development of that mod will get
Yeah.
most of the jokes. I mean, I wasn't familiar, so I didn't get most of the jokes, but some of the jokes are just abstract anyway. So it didn't spoil my enjoyment. I think it's one of those things, if you know it, then maybe it enhances it, but it doesn't spoil it by not knowing it. I missed things, for sure. Okay, but no problem.
Yeah.
Right. So tell me the process. I mean, at what point did you say, I'm going to make a mod and it's going to be this way?
Actually, it was kind of funny story of that. That it really just started with on the source modding community. I don't remember who it was, but somebody suggested like you should just make a dumb mod with like a lot of inside jokes in it from like all the, because I was making a lot of memes at that time. I guess I kind of am still doing that.
Right.
But
so when you
yeah,
say
it was
the
like,
source modding community, you mean the Discord? The Discord server.
right, yeah.
Okay. So somebody just said, make a weird mod, and you were like...
Yeah, I was like,
okay.
hey, why not? Like,
all right.
do something kind of laid back and have fun. And I did have fun making it, so...
All right. And how long ago was that then?
That's almost 4 or 5 months, I guess. It's been a while.
So, actually, that's not that long. I mean, I can't remember how long it took me to play it. I mean, probably listeners will be able to tell me faster than I can remember. But
I'm pretty sure, like, on average, most people's played it for around an hour if you take your time.
Yeah, an hour and 25 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what I played. I put an hour and 25 minutes based on my recording. And it took you about 4 to 5 months to build that amount of time in.
Yeah. And it could have probably been a lot shorter too, but I really took my time, and towards the end I really was like, I kind of want to put more effort into this than I originally intended. Okay. So yeah.
All right. And when you say it could have been shorter, you mean in development time or play time?
Yeah, in development time. Like originally I didn't expect it to take more than like 2 to 3 weeks really. I wasn't like, it was just going to be a small joke mod, but it became a lot bigger.
All right. And why did it become bigger? What was it that made it bigger?
Honestly, I'm not really sure. I just kind of kept adding on to it. Like, I don't know how you would explain it. Like, you have something, you just want to keep adding on to it. It's like,
okay. So
perfect.
Sorry.
Yeah, no. I guess like perfectionist, you just want to keep adding on to it. Like, this thing here might be good. No, that's pretty funny, and yeah.
Okay, so it was more of an organic thing. It was like
it's just kind of like you just keep molding it and adding on to it, and but eventually I had to stop myself and say like, okay, like this has been going on for pretty long. I need to make an ending and just release it.
All right, so there was a conscious decision rather than feeling that you'd run out of ideas.
Yeah.
All right, okay. And as far as the process is concerned, was it you built the first level and then moved on to the second level, or was there a little bit more, interchangeability? You built a few levels, put them together. How did that sort of work for you?
I actually started with the first level was almost one of the last levels I made.
Okay.
So I had a very like back and forth system of making stuff. So I mean, I made the first level, but then I stopped working on it for a very long time and came back and finished it and added more to it. So yeah.
All right, okay. What I was going to ask was, what part did you enjoy making the most? Because there's so many strange things. It was like, oh, that must have been that. For example, I'm looking at the screenshots at the moment. I'm thinking that was fun to play. I wonder if it was fun to make, because making something and playing it are two different things. Was there any part that was particularly fun that you really enjoyed making?
My favorite part was the staircase with like the floating blocks and everything.
Okay.
It took a while to make, but it was really fun with the like, and then you go in the thing, it's like you're flying through space and there's like pictures of Punt everywhere, and it was pretty crazy. And
okay, that's quite near the end, isn't it?
Yeah, that's pretty close to the end.
Okay. Another part? Go on. Sorry.
Yeah, and also mostly the abstract parts where it's like stuff is just going crazy, like the world, like the sky is spinning, and yeah, just stuff like that.
All right. And what about playtesting? One of my problems was that when I was playing it, I was like, "Is that supposed to be like that, or is it just
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, normally when you play a mod, it's like clear what's supposed to happen. You shoot somebody, he dies. But here, you turn around, he's gone, or he's bigger, or he's smaller. I mean, how did that work with the playtesting?
Surprisingly, I didn't actually playtest or have any playtesters until like the final week or two of the mod. I think that might have been best for it, where like it's a fresh experience for everyone, and I could just do a full like spend a week just fixing everything mentioned in the last week. Yeah. I mean, there's still a few problems, but most of it that looks like a problem was probably intentional. I mean, I don't even remember if it's intentional or not anymore.
I mean, I sort of walked through some of those combine barriers, and I was like,
yeah,
oh, did he forget to play a clip there, or am I supposed to see it?
Actually started as a joke where people, like, I had like 10 people mention that, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to keep it unclipped and put like a stupid picture behind here, and people see that and be like, oh, maybe it was intentional.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's talk about some of the weapons here, because there's like quite a interesting group of weapons. So the first weapon that you get is kind of like the guitar. It's a guitar, yes, or a ukulele?
Yeah, it's a guitar. The story behind most of these weapons are it's weapons from games that I used to play when I was a kid and I really liked. So I basically took the time to make sure they worked and replaced them all with Half-Life weapons. So one of the first is a guitar from one of the games.
And is it hard to make that model?
It takes a while. Like most of these models, I can't really take credit for some of them.
Okay.
But I do have to do manual like rigging for the model so it actually works with Half-Life. So there's some work that goes into doing that.
Can you explain what rigging means to those people who don't know?
It's basically having like a model and putting on a skeleton, I guess. I mean, I'm very inexperienced with modeling myself at the moment. Like, I just started, so PTSD is like all I know from like that's all I've learned up until now.
Okay, so rigging is placing the model on top of the skeleton.
Yeah, so like what I had to do was decompile the Half-Life 2 weapons and then replace over them with the new weapons. Okay. So yeah.
All right. And my favourite is the gun, the Magnum, with that shaft that just goes. How did that come about? That's like pretty weird.
It was pretty like it was the first gun I ever tried messing around with. I was like, I might as well keep it because it's the first gun I made, so it looks dumb, just as a joke. But I mean, if it's PTSD mod, so why not?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and then you kind of got the punt gun. I presume it's the punt gun, yeah. And
yeah, it's the old punt gun.
Okay, and that would sort of be used to push around or to punt the blocks in the game. All right, and then you've kind of got this. Oh, I don't even know how to describe it. It's the sort of like the shotgun. It's almost got like something that you put things in the top. I mean, what game is that from?
That was more of a combination of two models. So it's the original Half-Life 2 shotgun, and then I just, for some reason, put like like another ending of another gun on top of it. But it's from one of the games I really like, Ratchet and Clank, and you know I have profile picture of it all the time. People know me well for it, I guess.
All right, so it's like a signature weapon for you.
Yeah, basically.
All right, okay. And if you were to remake it, if you were to like go back in time, what changes to the process would you do, if any?
Well, actually, I mean, I don't know if you know, but I'm planning on making a second one right now.
No, I
So
did not know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
so what I'm going to do is just go back and do all the stuff that I couldn't do for PTSD 1 and try to like improve on the things that were fun and then fix the things that weren't as fun.
Okay.
But
I
yeah.
mean, what I mean specifically is, would you work in a different way? Not specifically about the mod, like what would you change about the mod, but the process that you use to build it, this organic, let's just build it, is that the process that you're going to use for the second one?
I probably will. What I've been doing for the second one is that I just like to, like, if I have a good idea, I just write it down, like, where I am at that very moment. So I just have a backlog of many ideas, and then I just pick the ideas that I like the most, put them into the mod.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're going to stick with the idea of getting it beta tested quite late in its process.
I think for the second one, I probably try a little more early, but I'll see.
All right, yeah. I mean, normally I advocate, you know, getting it tested really quite early, but in this particular case, it's only about finding bugs, really. Whereas others, it's to do with flow and stuff. Here, there's just no flow. I mean, I could have played it in reverse order, and I would have still had the same amount of fun. I mean, in some ways, it doesn't sort of matter. You could just play it in any different particular order.
Right.
Are you going to try and keep it to the same length of playtime, or are you going to go for a longer?
I'll probably keep it around the same time or longer, hopefully. I mean, I think with mods like that, you shouldn't go too far, or else the jokes kind of get, like, you have to constantly have fresh things happening, or else it's not as entertaining. And then, like, I mean, after a whole hour, you're probably kind of burnt out and like, okay, like, joke's over, like, haha. But
I definitely felt like that. I was like,
yeah,
okay.
That's why I tried to have more abstract parts between all of that, and then a little fighting also. So tried to mix it up a little.
Okay, I mean, you consciously put the fighting in. I was really glad that you did, because I like those kind of mods. I like fighting. I mean, that's what I play.
But I'll admit that the fighting was not very well in the mod, and I'd like to improve on that for the next one.
Yeah, to be honest, it didn't bother me that there were some situations that weren't as good as they could be, because in some ways that's all part of it. It's not a fighting mod. It's a weird mod, and if there's a bit of fighting, okay. So it didn't bother me as much as some other things did. In fact, the only thing that I think bothered me was its length. I felt that some ideas went on for too long, which is exactly what you were saying earlier on. Well, what's been the general community response?
Surprisingly, it seems pretty well. I can't tell still if it's like jokingly that they like it or did they actually like it, but the reviews of it have been very positive so far, and I mean, people seem to like it, so hey.
Good. You're happy. And I mean, do you read the reviews?
Yeah, I read all the reviews.
All right. What would be the thing that has come out as being the most negative? Is there anything that you can highlight on that?
Mostly it's just been with the ending and how you mentioned that it was like dragged out a little too long, and the ending was like with the boss battle was like it just wasn't clear. Like you weren't sure what you were doing for most people, so it was very confusing and yeah.
Yeah, there was a lack of feedback as to am I doing the right
Yeah,
thing?
exactly.
The problem is that it seems like the right thing. You know, there's this ball, you fire it, okay, you fire at it. It seems like the right thing, but so often, especially in this type of mod, it might not have been the right thing, because the rules that govern normal mods don't govern this mod.
Right.
You know, so that would have been interesting. And do you think it needs a boss battle?
For the second one, and I mean for the first one too, it doesn't really need a boss battle, but it seemed like it was both cliche but funny at the same time because it was cliche to have a boss battle in the end.
Okay.
So I mean, maybe for the next one I won't have that, and instead maybe have a really difficult level of like obstacle course and whatnot, or maybe just a cool ending. Who knows?
Or just a really easy ending to just like
I
confuse
mean, yeah,
people.
sure.
You know, like one shot and the boss is dead. It's like, wait, is this broken? Or something like that, you know? I don't know.
That would be good too. You would kind of get a laugh and be unexpected, and that's what the mod should strive to be. So.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So did you work with a number of people? I mean, you talked about you not taking credit for the models. I mean, how many people kind of did you get involved with over through this process?
Mostly, it was just me. Like, the only thing was that the models for Punt and stuff, of course, is from ReBlue and the people who worked on old Punt. So
Okay.
I can't take credit for that. But I did ask him, and he was okay with that. So
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
cool.
you did a good job with the credits. That was really
Yeah, I
good.
tried to. I mean, I had to be very careful of crediting all the
Yeah.
people I could.
Alright.
But yeah.
Now I've got one negative comment, which I haven't specifically saved to near the end, but why did you put copyright content in it?
I chose some of it because I felt that it was stuff that was iconic to me from games that I like playing. I don't think specifically you would get, like, I've removed most of the things you would get a copyright claim on YouTube right now.
Yeah, I'm not talking
There are a
about
few
YouTube.
things.
Using it
Okay.
in your mod is wrong. It's that
Huh?
simple. It's copyright.
Yeah.
You can't use
Right.
it. So you used it because you felt it was iconic.
To me, yeah.
Okay. Would you? I mean, it's annoying. I find it frustrating. I mean, besides the YouTube thing, which is kind of a separate issue, I find it really frustrating when people do that because. Okay, all right, that's fine. You going to do it in the second one?
Well, there'll probably be a few models, like things that. I mean, it would probably fall under the what you call like copyright, but we're talking about games made in like 2005 and older, which I don't even know if copyright would like apply to that even anymore. And even if it did, I don't think any company would really care about such an old thing. I can understand if it's some new game right now, it's like super popular, but I really like to make it more original for the next one and avoid as little as I can of copyright.
Yeah, I would highly recommend that. I mean, I don't want us to have a bad relationship over this, but you
No,
wouldn't,
I fully
you
understand.
wouldn't use Reap's model without his permission, would you?
No.
No, and you shouldn't use anything else. So this is kind of like my shout out to all modders out there. Don't use
Yeah.
copyright content. And it doesn't matter how old it is. If you haven't got permission, don't use it. But in
Right.
this context, it's hard because it is a bit different. I recognise that.
Yeah,
But,
well,
you know,
what I try to see is there's two categories. First is the mod is free, so it's not paid. It's like don't make money on it. And second is that it's in a way transformative content. So it takes like sure it's not the like some of the things aren't edited in a way, but it is a parody or transformative content in a way, if that makes sense.
yeah, it does,
But,
and I can
yeah.
I can kind of agree with that. But the fact that you don't make any money doesn't make any difference at all as far as
Right.
copyright is concerned. But yeah, if there's some form of transformation and you use it in a parody situation, then you're allowed to use it. So you know,
Right. But I understand what you mean, and I'd rather like I would have loved to just make it all original, but there are a few things that I'd love to include that just happens to be copyrighted, so
it's
it kind of
difficult.
sucks.
It's difficult.
Yeah,
And I
it's-
apologise if
it's
I
really
sound
touchy.
aggressive about it. I don't.
No,
mean to
it's
be.
fine. I
know.
understand.
And as you said, it's like they're personal things for me. They inspired me. You know, they've got a history with you, and in
Yeah.
those situations, it does seem that copyright sort of shouldn't be so important then, because it's all about how you interpret something based on your experience in life, and that's important to include it.
It's a touchy subject, so it's kind of difficult with exactly copyright and all that.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so any last words that you want to add? Any questions that you expected me to ask that I didn't ask, maybe?
I don't know. I can't really think of anything at the moment.
All right, okay. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to speak to me today. I appreciate it. I'd like to thank you for making the mod, because it's always great when people come up with like something crazy and new. Do you know if there are any other mods that are made by for other games where anybody's done this? Has there been has anybody said to you, "Oh, that reminds me of that mod," or "That reminds me of that game," or anything like that?
Well, there's been plenty of. I mean, in a way, I took inspiration from a few like goofy mods I've seen around. But yeah, there's plenty of them out there. Some not as high. Like, there's a few that are just basically like really bad, I guess. But sometimes things can be so bad that it's funny.
Exactly. So. There can be no bad mods in this kind of genre, can there?
Yeah.
Because bad is part of it. So
yeah.
Not that yours was bad, but I had to play anyways. All right. Okay. Yeah. So overall, this was a great experience for you. Yes, you'd say that you benefited from this.
Yeah, definitely. I've learned a lot of things, and these are things that I can use for future projects. Like, I definitely want to return to, like, I want to make a serious mod one day.
Good.
And I have plenty of ideas, and I already started on many, like, concepts and stuff. But when I would do that, I would make, like, 100% sure it's, like, all original content and all that. Right.
And I'm really glad that you said serious, because what I was about to say was be careful you don't fall into this pigeonholing where people expect you to make everything like this, and then when you don't, it's like, oh my god, no, that's not his usual stuff, I don't like it. When in fact it could be a great mod, but they just expected you to make stuff like this. But
I think this will be the last one. The reason I decided to do a second one is because it was fun to do, and I enjoyed the creative freedom, and I'd like to continue with that for a little more. So after that, I'm ready to move on to something more serious.
Yeah, good. I mean, you're right. You've got that creative freedom. You're not limited by conventions within the game that you're building for.
Right.
All right. And last question. Have you thought of a name for the second one, or is it simply going to be the PTS Mod 2?
It's probably just going to be that. That's what it's called right now. I had a few names pitched, but I just can't, I'm not sure, like, what else it could be called.
All right, okay. All right, excellent. Well, as I say, thank you very much for your time, and keep on modding. And remember, finishing Half-Life is just the beginning. See ya!